Австралиа Welcome.
Сайн байцгаана уу хүн төлөөлөгчтэй. Өнөөдөр орой де факто нэвтрүүлгийн зочноор ноён Грегори Burns оролцож байна. Энэ хүн бол пара олимпийн дэлхийн 5 удаагийн авраг, 3 олимпод оролцсон тамирчин, мөн зураач, илтгэгч үе юм аа.
Григори Бурнс, Америк нэгдсэн улсын тамирчин, зураач, зохиолч, илтгэгч. Григори Бурнс нь 1957 онд Америк нэгдсэн улсын Вашингтон ДС хотод төрсөн. Тэрээр 3 наснда усан цэцэлд сурсан бөгөөд 6 наснда зурж эхэлсэн байна. Григори 1980 онд Калифорни мужийн их сургууль Санта Барбараг харилцаа холбоо судлалын бакалаврын зэрэгтээ төгссөн. 1992, 1996, 2000 онуудад зохиогдсон паралимпод эх орноо төлөөлөн оролцож 2 алт, 2 мөнгө, 1 хүрэл медаль хүртсэн. Паралимпийн сэлэлтийн төрөлд нийт 5 удаа дээд амжилт тогтоон улсын хэмжээнд олон удаа дээд амжилтыг тогтоосон мөн цанаар хичээлдэг байсан. Контемпорари уран бүтээлчийнхээ хувьд Грегориг нь абстракт импрэсионист хэмээн тодорхойлдог. Тэрээр 1982-аас 1984 онуудад Калифорнийн Кауэрли коллежид уран зургийн чиглэлээр 1984-аас 1985 онуудад Тайваны Чундай их сургуульд хятадын уран зураг, бичиг болон түүхийн чиглэлээр тус суралцсан судалгаа хийж 1998-аас 1999 онуудад Австралийн Мельбурний технологийн Роял хүрээлэнд уран зургийн чиглэлээр магистрийн зэрэг хамгаалсан. Грегорийн зохиолчийнхээ хувьд зурагдсан аялал номыг англи хэлээр, амьдралаа өнгөтэй болгох номыг мандарин хэлээр тус бичжээ.
Good evening, Gregory.
Good evening.
Welcome to Mongolia.
Thank you.
So, what brought you to Mongolia?
It wasn't the weather.
Okay.
I've been brought here by the U.S. Embassy to speak to different groups. One is about arts and one is about Paralympics. So I'm a speaker, and so I'm here to share some of my understanding and experiences.
How is your trip so far going on?
So far it's been great. Yeah, we had a very a lovely class yesterday, a workshop with some artists with disabilities, and today I met with the Mongolian Paralympic Committee and met some athletes and some coaches. So just been very warm and a great sharing.
What do you think about Paralympics development in Mongolia, based on, of course, your
on my limited understanding, yes. Of course, it's new. It's early stages for Mongolia and Paralympics, of course, like with all countries that are moving up the scale. And but I see some similarities when I was beginning my Paralympic career in the 70s and 80s. And, I think, of course, the Paralympics are about sports for people with physical disabilities. And so that's a group of people that I think are oftentimes neglected or misunderstood, if I might say, whether it's in Mongolia or America or Australia or anywhere. That's a group of people that oftentimes doesn't have as strong a voice as maybe able-bodied people do. So I see that there are challenges for you here infrastructurally with the way things run. But also maybe there's still some challenges, as with most countries, the way people perceive people with disabilities as well.
And obviously, that's some challenge we have to face, and we keep talking to city authority all around. We have a Mongolian alumni of state, Mongolian Association of State Alumni, which started and runs, or with the help of the disabled people, run a website called We Can. Through that website, we ask people on wheelchair to identify where they are and what they can do, so that the local people hire them.
Good.
So that's the start, and perfectly understand what you are saying, and through our Rotary Club, also which celebrates this year 20th years, I was one of the founder first presidents, and also we have started that movement. It goes obviously slowly, I think, relatively, and you are son of diplomat, and you have contracted with polio when very small.
1 year.
1 year. And so you yourself could not walk from the beginning.
From the beginning. I've known this all my life, yes.
So physically you have never walked with yourself?
Not without crutches or braces, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I saw your TED speech where the local schools were a little bit reluctant to have you going to school. Please tell us about that part.
Well, when I was in first grade, so this is a long time ago.
Where?
In America, in Washington, in the Washington, D.C. area. They were reluctant in that the school had 2 floors. And when I went there, the principal said, well, I'm sorry, Gregory, we'd love to have you, but you cannot walk up and down the stairs to the 2nd floor, and no one can carry you, so I'm sorry you can't go to school here. And but my mother said, she pressed him and said, well, if he can climb the steps, can he go to school? And he said, yes, of course. So that summer, my father built stairs in my backyard, and so I practiced climbing up and down the stairs with my crutches. And so then in the September, when school began, I went to the principal and proved to him that I could climb the stairs, and then I was allowed to go to school. And I think that is an analogy that many disabled people probably encounter. It's not to say that other able-bodied people don't need to prove themselves. Of course, everybody does. But I think disabled people tend to have to prove themselves maybe a little bit more before they are given the same as everybody else. And I guess that's maybe a little bit of an analogy.
At which point in your life you have decided to be a sportsman, not only sportsman, but really competitive sportsman?
Well, I've always been athletic. I've started swimming when I was 3, just for fun, and then I liked to do things physically, get around. I like to move from A to B without using fossil fuels, as I would say, so on my own. And so, but when I moved to California in 1976, and then in 77, I learned about these sports for people with disabilities. Because before then, I was competing in running or baseball or football, but I was competing against you without any physical disability. And then I found the sports venue where, in a way, it's an even playing field. So I competed against people in a similar physical condition, maybe not polio, maybe a back injury or maybe spina bifida or something, but there's a classification system where everybody is classified and given a rank between 1 and 10, and then you compete with the ones in your rank. So I'm a class 6, so I compete against the 6s. So it makes it even, and it makes it more fair. And as a result, I was able to compete around California, and then around America, and then around the world. And that's one of the reasons I began swimming, because I got to travel. And I got to go see, the first place was Brazil. I wanted to go to Rio, because I heard about this song about Brazil and bikinis and things, and I wanted to go see that myself. So I figure if I swim fast enough, I get to go, and that happened.
And when you have decided to be a part of U.S. Olympic team, you went first to Barcelona.
Well, that was my first official Paralympics, yeah, but I had been competing many years before that. I went to a place called Stoke Mandeville. I went to the Pan American Games, but my first real true Paralympics was '92 in Barcelona, yeah.
And in which distance all this mostly happens with the Olympic distance?
The races?
Yes.
I usually swim 100 meters or 200 meters or the relays, yeah.
Okay, 200. And when you became Olympic sportsman, then you went to the next one, another one. You have been in 3 Olympics: Barcelona,
yes, yeah.
Atlanta, and Sydney.
Yeah.
And then you have made 5 world records in 200 meters, right?
Well, actually, one was in the 50-meter backstroke, one was the 100-meter backstroke, one was the 100-meter breaststroke, and then one was a 200-meter freestyle relay, and the 200-meter medley relay.
Okay, this 200, for example, this distance, I mean, what does that training for that Olympic game to be really, to have this gold medals, what does it take? I mean, please describe the day you were preparing for Olympic Games.
Sure, sure. Well, of course, you train for many, many months or years before, but usually when I was in my prime, I was swimming about 5 miles a day and doing weightlifting 3 days a week, and then trying to eat right and sleep right. But also I did other things like surfing and trekking and climbing, and so I was always very active and very physical. So some cross training as well. But swimming, you're in the pool 3-4 hours a day, and you're in the weight room a couple hours a day, and so it's taxing physically, because you're trying to juggle the rest of your life as well.
Yeah.
Because I had a full-time job when I was training for all these things. So sometimes I could only swim. When I was living in Hong Kong, I would swim during my lunch hour and do weights before work or after work. So it wasn't sometimes the best ideal situation.
Wow.
Yeah.
Welcome. What was that full-time job about?
Well, actually, I had 2 full-time jobs in Hong Kong. I was working at a company you may have heard called Star TV.
Of course.
Yeah. I worked for them in sports, making a sports program. I was a producer. And then I had another day job. That was a night job from 9 p.m. to 9 a.m. But then that was only 3 days a week. But then the other job I had was making CD-ROMs. And this is in the 90s when, CD-ROMs, that we had great wonders of the world and great cities of the world. So there was information and cultural and all sorts of things on these CD-ROMs. So I was a producer for that as well. So I had the day job, 9 to 5, 5 days a week at Interoptica, and then a night job, Star TV, 9 p.m. to 9 a.m., 3 days a week, and then all day Saturday. And I trained, as I said, in my lunch hour and before work. And so that was Barcelona. That wasn't the best. The best training situation.
This is what you described just now in Hong Kong. Your job was, in fact, it's even big than for normal, not disabled people. And how you could manage it?
Well, it was just
do it.
But the 2 jobs were just very interesting, and I really liked Star TV and making programming, and then I really liked the CD-ROMs because that was cutting edge. Then it was cutting edge technology, and I didn't want to give either one of them up. So I just managed to do both and train and not sleep. I didn't sleep a lot. It was because I would sleep every other night, and
wow.
but also sometimes at Star TV, don't tell them this, but sometimes I didn't stay all the way till 9 in the morning. Sometimes if I finished my work, I could leave at 3, 4, 5 in the morning. So then leave in the morning, 3, 4 in the morning, go home, sleep for a few hours, and then get up and go to my other job at 9. So it was not ideal, but it was one of those things. It's like, can I do this? It was a challenge to myself to say, can I hold 2 full-time jobs and train for the Barcelona Paralympics all at the same time with one body?
Was it also for money?
Well, it was okay. It was good money. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, you had to earn your bread too
of course,
yourself.
Of course, yeah. And did I keep both jobs? I think I kept both jobs pretty much because I liked them both, but I also liked getting 2 salaries, so that didn't hurt.
So okay, it made you feeling good. How about that? You have been artist for me. You are a very well-known artist. Now you are displayed in major hotels around the world, Sheraton, Four Seasons, and your work, art in residence?
Artist in residence, yeah.
Yeah, and please first tell us when you start to paint.
Okay.
And you are very famous. Your contemporary arts now are well displayed all around the world. What made you painting, and how did you start it?
Well, I started drawing comics when I was about 5 or 6, because I like
comics.
Like Dennis the Menace.
Sure.
Yeah. So I used to draw my own comics, and then I would take art classes. And then my father's job was in Paris when I was 5 to 9. So I had art teachers come to the house and teach me some still life painting and oil painting when I was 5, 6, 7, 8 years old. But I always took art in school and enjoyed art. And it wasn't until university, my first year of college, when I took a figure drawing class. And there I was in my class with all the other people, kind of here in a room around. And then the teacher spoke a little bit, and then he invited this woman to come in who had a robe on, and she came into the middle of the room, and then she took off her robe and she was naked, and all of us are drawing like crazy, you know. I thought, wow, I think I found my place, you know. I really was very excited to be there. But jokes aside, I think that was when I started to realize that my drawings were good. People were asking me for them, for their rooms or their house, whatever. So it was then, you know, when I was a late teenager, 18, 19 years old, that I started to take it more seriously instead of just for fun. I thought, oh, well. And then I started to take more classes, and then started to exhibit when I was about in 1980, 1981. I began to exhibit and sell etchings, and so it's been a slow thing. And then I did my master's in 1998, 99 in painting, and that was a great transition. So I've been exhibiting for 30 years and painting all around the world for 30 years now. I travel all over the world, like here, and I've been to 60 countries, and I've painted in about 40 of those countries. And I go on location, I sit in the street, I sit on the mountain or in the beach or in the woods in the forest, and I draw and I paint, and then I take those paintings and I have an exhibition sometimes. So I have two kinds of work. One is the travel work, I would call it, and that's when I look at something and then I absorb it, and then I express something that has some reference of that thing I see, whether it's a mountain or a building or a person. And then I have the other kind of work is what I call studio work, which is in my studio, and oftentimes big paintings. And
now in Singapore?
Everywhere. I have a studio in Singapore, in California, in Shanghai, in Chengdu, and I mean, I was sketching at the Lama Temple yesterday here, so everywhere I go, I kind of create a little studio.
Okay.
So it depends. So I do that all over the world as well. And these artist in residencies are quite interesting. In 1999, there was an Oberoi resort opening in Lombok in Indonesia. And my friend introduced me to the general manager and suggested that he invite me as the artist in residence. And he did. So my girlfriend at the time, now my wife, and I went there for 1 month or 6 weeks, and I painted. And then we had an exhibition, and then some paintings sold, and then, oh, that was a good thing. And then the general manager wrote me a letter, and I sent this letter to some other hotel. I said, I would like to do a residency in your hotel. Sure, why not? So now after, 14, 15 years, we've done more than 24 all over the world.
You're staying in their hotel painting for them?
Yeah, not for them, no. I don't paint for them. I paint for me. And
for yourself.
For me. And then I have an exhibition of my paintings and sell some. And
in
also,
that hotel?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
And then also sometimes I will have art classes. So in February, I will go to the Maldives, and there's a hotel called One and Only in the Maldives. It's on an island. And I will live there for a month, and I will paint and have classes, and then that's my residency for next year.
You have classes for paintings?
Yeah.
Also?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So when you are doing your paintings, what makes you keep continuing other than, I mean, certain job you start to finish, but there is certain things that keeps moving you. What is that internal motivation to do painting?
It's a good question. It has a long answer maybe, but I'll try my best to keep it within the time frame. But as a painter, or maybe as an engineer and as an athlete or a writer or whatever, I think we always need to keep reinventing ourselves or changing and growing and doing something instead of repeating ourselves. And as a painter, I'm always doing that. And I have a phrase called going without knowing. And what I mean by that is when I paint, I paint, except if I'm doing travel painting, like if I'm looking at the Lama Temple, I'll paint and draw the Lama Temple. But in my studio, I start with a blank canvas, and I might start with an idea. Like I just did a painting called Start with Gratitude. Very simple. I think if we start our life or start our day or a relationship or whatever, if we start with gratitude, that's good. You know, we're grateful, and that's a good place to start. So I did a painting about that. So how do you paint this? Is it a line? Is it a square? Is it a house? Is it a building? Is it the sun? What is that? So I don't know. But I thought, well, I'll try to paint that. And I put some color, and then maybe some imagery, some more color, and then change this. And it's kind of a process where I start to paint, and I see this, and this says that, and then I think of this, and I'd write this or draw that and paint that. So it kind of builds in layers. And then at the end, at some point, I think, that feels about right. And so that's finished. And then I go to another one. But like you said, it's never done. We're never done as an artist or a writer or even an athlete.
You said a very interesting phrase, which is reinventing, recreating. Is it also a part of your motivational speech to young people, to big audience?
Sure.
And why you become a motivational speaker?
You know, I've been speaking to Rotary Club, Lions Club, schools ever since I was a teenager. So, but the first time I was paid for it was in 1992. I came back from the Barcelona Paralympics with my medals, and a company called me and said, "Would you speak at our conference?" And I said, "Sure." And they said, "And please tell us, how much do you charge?" And I said, "Sure, let me get back to you." So I went away and I thought, oh, how much do I charge? So that was the first time I was actually paid in 1992.
Okay.
And before that was all FOC. You know? So then I enjoyed it. I went and I did it, and it was, oh, nice. And then over the years, of course, now after more than 20 years doing it for pay also, I have developed not one story, but in a sense, my life and some of the lessons I think I've learned and things I've experienced and along the way relate to many things. I'm not an expert in mining or banking or consumer goods or electronics, but all these companies have invited me, hundreds, not hundreds, but 100 have invited me to speak at their conferences about it's not about motivation, but it's about, I think what it is really helping people to question their excuses or question their limitations, you know? Because we all have excuses.
Yes.
And we all have limitations. And sometimes we need like a mirror to show us what we're doing or not doing, and then you make your own decision. We all make our own decisions, right? It's up to us. But you know, sometimes we need a little slap in the head or just a mirror or something to say, hey, maybe that isn't as hard as you thought, or maybe it's not impossible. So, and for lack of a better way to say, I think that is the message that I bring to these conferences, to whether it's a Fortune 500 company or a school, or yesterday I spoke to at the American Center. I spoke to a group of the public, but also to artists and athletes, I think. So it was a group of very diverse group of people, again about the same thing. And I just share a little bit about the Paralympics, a little about doing the Ironman, a little about doing art, and some things that I have experienced and tried to understand along the way.
Welcome. You know, you speaking to many people, looking at the people with normal ability, then suddenly the people you find suddenly the people need sometimes good kick at the butt.
Yes, of course. As I do, as you do, as we all do. You know, none of us are perfect like this. None of us are, you know, people look at me and say, oh, you've accomplished so much. And I would argue, no, I don't think so. I've done what I like to do. I've done that well. I've picked my battles wisely. You can't be great at everything. You know, I think you must choose some things and then try hard at those. And what keeps you going, what keeps you motivated, it's an internal thing. It's a little voice that says, you know I can do that. If I don't do it, I'll feel worse than if I do and fail, or if I do it and I feel pain. But so it's an internal thing to say, you know, I know I can do that, so I better do it or I'm not going to like myself. And I think it's a bit of that.
You have been teaching and giving classes of either arts or motivation to schools, kids, and what you think is important that the kids to understand before a certain age to be a good character, to be owner of their own faith?
Well, it's a big question, yeah. It's
See, because I'm asking it because also here in our education system, they pay a lot of attention to how much knowledge you get, but less how good you are with the others, who you are, understanding. So in that sense, I'm asking.
Yeah. I don't think Mongolia is certainly not alone. I live in Singapore, and it's all about grades. It's about numbers. It's about getting these goals, and people, I think, forget that human being is so many facets, like a diamond, has so many sides. And so I think for young people, it's peer pressure. Okay, it's true, it's real. What are my friends doing? What do they think of me? Of course, when we are young, even when we're old, we're worrying, oh, what do I look okay? And do I have the right friends? I have the right hairs? We're all very, but when you're young, it's even stronger. And I think at an early age, though, to kind of realize, regardless of what my friends think or my enemies think, regardless of what they are thinking, I have something. I may not even know what it is yet, but I know I have something of value, and I know I am of value, and I am worthy of a good life. And because and not because I want someone to give it to me, it's because I will work for it. But it might take me some time to find out, what am I meant to be? Am I good at this or this or this or this? And I also found, when I was growing, I was good at this and many things. And then eventually you say, well, but I think I want to try on this one and this one. So you make some decisions on, my strengths are here or here. I like to do this, but I think I better do this. So you have to think for yourself, and you have to decide for yourself. And my wife always says, oh, you always listen to other people, what they say. I tell you all the answers, you don't listen to me, you only listen to your friend. But anyway, that's another story altogether. But we do need to listen to others, to our peers, to, if you will, mentors, to older people, younger people. But we get information from everything, everybody, every place. So it's okay and important to seek out input from other places. But at the end of the day, you must answer to yourself, and you must look to yourself to say, so what is right for me? And it's not easy making decisions. I'm a Libra. Oh boy, Libras are always, oh, should I stay or should I go? Is it yes or is it no? Oh boy, somebody, So.
When and how you got to know your wife? Please tell us.
Met her in Singapore on the beach. She was a windsurfer, and I was going to the beach, so that's how we met. And then,
wow, windsurfer.
Yeah.
Okay. What does your happiest day look like?
My happiest day. That's a funny one. A happiest day. I like to be in nature. When I'm surfing or scuba diving or climbing the mountains, and with friends or a friend, and communicating. I recently did a trek in India with another man, a gentleman who he broke his back 3 years ago, and after he was a quadriplegic, flat, couldn't move, and after working hard and faith and strength, he came back and he can walk now. Not perfect, but he can walk. So the two of us, we went on a trek in India in June. 35 kilometers over 4 days in Ladakh. And that trek was wonderful, and it was one of my happiest recent times, because throughout the day we would walk and talk.
Just two of you?
Yes. Well, there were 20 of us, because there was a company that sponsored it, and then they made a film about it.
I see.
And this film will come out in January and February, so it'll be used. But it was so there was a film crew and a writer and 10 ponies and a cook and a cleaner and my wife and a trainer, and so there was a big group. But basically he and I, for 5 days, walked, just not side by side.
But it's about two of you.
It's about us. Yeah.
Okay.
And it's our story. And but during the days we walked and talked. Talk so much stuff, And I think when you're in nature and you're exercising, you really, some of the good stuff, some of the bad stuff too, but the stuff inside, deep inside of you can come out. And we were talking, and the stuff was coming out, and our conversations were I thought, very deep and interesting for us. Maybe the rest of the world will think, that's silly stuff, who cares about that, all this philosophical things and how to live your life and what is good in life, But we thought it was interesting, we thought it was important, and it really was inspiring for me. And in fact, one day I was sick, very sick. I had eaten something wrong, and I was, it was not a good day. and I still had to get to the top of the mountain. And I know that him nearby, talking to him, helped me so much to get through to forget about, oh, my stomach, I'm going to go to the toilet. You know how it can be. And by this conversation, it really take away the pain, if you will, the struggle. And so it really fed me, my spirit, my soul, to keep me going. And of course, I finished the mountain. So,
wow. What is your theme now? You are working as a painter.
My theme now?
Yes.
I just finished a series called Homecoming, because I just went home to California and I left again. But I'm always coming and going. So my theme has to do with traveling a lot and moving from place to place. But it also, I'm trying to work in something I call the hero's journey. I don't know if you've read. There's a writer named Joseph Campbell, an American writer. He's a sociologist, anthropologist, but he writes about many of the world's cultures and religions, if you will, have similar themes. And one of that theme, I could say, is the hero's journey. And what is that? So the hero's journey is like a 4-part series. And the way I understand it, the way I paint it, is the first part is home. You're at home. You're in your comfort zone, and you're a young person or you're an old person, but you're at a place, and then you decide, I want something different, or I need something different, or something changes, and as a result, you depart. You leave this, and you depart, and you go somewhere, whether it is physical or in your mind or spiritual. But you take a journey and you go somewhere. So I call leaving. So home, depart, and then you're on this journey. And then somewhere along the journey, you stop, you learn something, you break something, you find something, you get an answer, or you get something that's valuable, and okay. So that's the third part. I call contemplation, or contemplate, or discover. And then, okay, I'm not finished in my journey, but I think I'll go home again. And I'll tell my family and my friends what I found. I'll bring back the Holy Grail.
Okay.
So you go home. That's called return.
Okay.
So 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the hero's journey. So I paint the hero's journey.
Tell us about your home.
My home. I have many homes, but I have two permanent homes, one in Singapore and one in California near San Francisco. So that's where my family is, and my wife's family is in Singapore. So we're bi-coastal.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I wish you have a happy journey back to both your home.
Thank you.
When you're back to California?
I usually go, I'll probably go in the summer, this coming. Usually I'm there for the winter, and in fact I'm usually there now, but it's changed this year. But I tend to spend Christmas with my family in California. But next year I think I want to do something called Burning Man.
Okay. What is that about?
You ask your listeners to look that up. But it's a big festival in the desert of Arizona or Nevada.
Okay.
60,000 people from all over walks of life come to a place called, it's an event called Burning Man. It's 1 week, and it's, I don't want to say anything goes, but it's an alternative lifestyle, alternative event. And if you look up Burning Man on the computer, you will get a bigger feel for it than I can explain now. But that's something my wife and I would like to do before we die. And so this year we think maybe we try it. And it's in the end of August.
Wow. It sounds like it's the Ironman you are doing in Korea.
It's a very good analogy. The Ironman and the Paralympics is just purely physical, or mostly physical. This one is more of I think mental, physical, and spiritual, because it encompasses everything. So
tell the audience about the Ironman parameters of competition.
Well, the real Ironman, the full Ironman, is a 3.8 kilometer ocean swim, and then you follow this by a 180 kilometer bicycle ride, and then followed by a 42 kilometer run. So and you do that all at one time.
How do you run then?
I use a racing wheelchair, and for the bike I use a 3-wheel hand cycle. So I'm very low on the ground, and I have one wheel in the front, 2 in the back, and pedal with my arms.
Well, you were competing with the people who has
The
ability.
regular bikes, yeah.
Regular bike.
Yeah, I was the only physically challenged one in the whole race. There were 1,100 athletes. Came in out of everybody. I came in 13 and a half hours, and I was 650. I didn't win. I didn't lose, but I didn't win. Out of 1,100, I came out in the middle. You know. Yeah.
Gregory, what a wonderful story.
No, thank you.
Thank you very much for being with
pleasure.
us. And I think it will help many people to overcome whatever they have difficulties.
We hope.
Thank you very much.
You.